She asked me if I had one. I said yes. She said, so how can you deny that this is your son?
Calm down, Mr. Taylor. I know this was disappointing.
I don't see how that's
So even though you had doubt, it is obvious you were coming here hoping to be wrong.
Right.
But you were right to have questions.
Well, 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 folks. Looks like we've got another wild one on our hands today. This young man, Damien, was on a mission to find out who his real dad was, and his mom, Miss Johnson, was not holding back. Turns out, she was a bit of a wild child back in the day, and poor Damien had 6 potential fathers to choose from.
Couple of questions. The first question we asked Mr. Slaughter was, what was the nature of your relationship with Miss Johnson, and how did you find out about Damien?
We met through a mutual friend. I know might have been sometime in the early 90s. We kind of lost track of each other after, our relations, and then I seen her later on in life.
Now, the first guy they brought in, Mr. Slaughter, seemed like he might have been the one. He and Miss Johnson had a little fling back in the 90s, and he even admitted that she told him he could be the dad about 2 years ago. But then he dropped a bombshell. He said she actually told him about it when Damien was 13 years old.
You basically started calling everybody you admittedly were sleeping with multiple men. You said you were fast, and you said you were sleeping around. So you just said, you know what? I'm fanning out and I'm telling everybody I was having sex with, you could potentially be my son's biological father.
Yes, because we didn't end up following through with it back then, and that's why we're here today.
We didn't have the money. Like, my mom was doing everything by herself.
And let me tell you, Damien was not having any of it. He called out his mom for being fast and sleeping around, but he also made it clear that he just wants to know who his dad is, no matter how old he is. The poor kid's been without a father his whole life, and he's not gonna let his mom off the hook until she figures it out.
How does that make you feel when he says he would like to be there for you? He would like to be a...
It feels good knowing that somebody is willing to step up and be there, if they are my dad, It'd just be nice to know who my dad is, just be able to call somebody dad.
Of course it would. And I want you to understand that every person has that desire, and that's why we do this, for you. Miss Johnson, your son...
Mr. Slaughter seemed to have a change of heart, though. He told the court that if he's proven to be Damien's dad, he's ready to step up and be a good role model and mentor. Damien seemed touched by that, saying it would be nice to have a dad in his life, even if it's a little late in the game.
I feel in my heart that he's Damien's,
Right.
and that would be the only one to carry on his name.
And that's why the stakes are so high.
Absolutely, because that's 22 years of her son, her brother, that they missed out on.
Well, yes, but they missed out on it, Miss Johnson, and I want to say this to you respectfully, because what I appreciate about you...
But then the judge dropped another bombshell. There's 6 potential father, a guy named Mr. Harmon. Miss Johnson admitted that they had a few sexual encounters, and that's why he could be the dad. Poor Damien. He just looked like he wanted to crawl into a hole and disappear. You could see the pain in his eyes.
Wasn't one. We hung out a couple times and had a couple sexual encounters, and that was it. There was nothing whatsoever.
So this
other
was
than
just sex.
Yes.
But it was unprotected.
Yep.
Which is why you say he could potentially be Damien's biological father.
Right.
Well, Mr. Harmon is here, and we'd like to hear from him. Jerome, will you please escort Mr. Harmon into the courtroom?
The judge, bless her heart, really tried to lift Damien's spirits. She told him that he's an incredible young man and that he should never feel like he's not worth it. She promised they'd keep testing everyone until they get the answer he needs, and that he's not going to be in this fight alone.
So you have been friends,
Yes.
and you've seen Damien,
Yes.
been around him,
Yes.
but you never knew
No.
he could potentially be your biological son?
No, I didn't. I have other kids, but I don't think that he's mine.
So, Ms. Johnson, how did you tell Mr. Harmon he could be the father? I mean, he says he knows you. He's seen
I'm still
Damien.
friends with Mr. Henley and Mr. Slaughter.
Then they brought in Mr. Harmon, and the plot thickened even more. Turns out he and Miss Johnson have been friends for a while, but he had no idea Damien could be his son until just 4 weeks ago. The judge was clearly frustrated, wondering why Miss Johnson waited so long to bring this guy into the mix.
I don't care what it is, and I want you to know that there are people that will go to war with you to find out the answers you need. And honey, you will never be in this fight by yourself. You got a soldier in me. You understand? You be strong, okay?
The tension in that courtroom was palpable, folks. You could feel the emotions swirling around, with Damien on the verge of tears, and the judge determined to get to the bottom of this mess. When the judge said they were going to test every single potential father, even if there were 33 of them, you could tell she meant business.
Mr. Harmon, you are not the father. Mr. Slaughter is not the father. Mr. Henley, you are not the father. The percentage of relatedness between Miss Lethea Murray and Damien Johnson is 0.00%. You are not related.
Miss Foster is convinced that she's the best mother in the world, and she's here to prove that her ex-boyfriend, Mr. Jackson, is the father of her daughter, Jakyah. But Mr. Jackson is having none of it. He claims Miss Foster cheated on him multiple times during their relationship, and there's no way Jakyah is his kid. This is gonna be a wild ride, folks.
Your ex-boyfriend planned your pregnancy only to have him abandon you and deny paternity. You are here to prove that he is your daughter, Jakyah's biological father. You want him to step up and take care of his daughter. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Jackson, you say Miss Foster cheated on you multiple times during your relationship, and there is no way.
All right, let's dive in. Miss Foster starts off by telling the judge that she and Mr. Jackson had planned this pregnancy, but then he just up and abandoned her and denied paternity. She's confident Jakyah is his daughter, and she wants him to step up and take care of her.
He was claiming my first child knowing she wasn't his baby, but then when we planned a baby, he doesn't deny this child at all.
Wait. I want to understand this. So this first baby was not his biological child.
Correct.
But he took you home to his mother like, look at my girlfriend and our baby.
Correct.
Then what happened?
In the midst of us staying together, he told me I was going to be his baby's mother, because I'm the best mother in the world.
Turns out Miss Foster and Mr. Jackson met on social media. Shocker, right? Apparently, they had a mutual friend who vouched for Mr. Jackson. So, Miss Foster jumped right into a relationship with him. But things got complicated when Miss Foster had a child from a previous relationship, and Mr. Jackson started claiming that kid as his own, even though it wasn't his.
No, Your Honor, he doesn't think. He had a whole nother girlfriend out of town. He wanted to play house here and there and have us in a polygamous relationship, which he don't got it like that.
Actually, I wasn't playing house.
Actually, he was.
Then at some point, you found out you pregnant again.
Yes, Your Honor, after he left out of town again.
So what happened?
I was talking in a relationship with him, and when I found out he was in a relationship with the other female.
Now, the real drama starts when Miss Foster reveals that she got pregnant with Jakyah while Mr. Jackson was out of town with another woman. She says she was sleeping with 2 different guys around the same time, and she's not sure who the father is. But she's convinced it's Mr. Jackson, even though he's adamant that he's not the dad.
But you still in my
After
mama's house
February
when I left,
21st.
though, you feel me?
That's pointless. I mean, that matters nothing to me.
How many times I was
you
like,
left,
you
brought me
out.
her, you left
But
to
her
go
and my
be with
mama
somebody
get back
else.
cool for
Me
some
and my
reason.
baby stayed. That's just what it was.
So, Miss Foster, I want you to take me to the day you found out you were pregnant.
I fell to the floor. I did 3 rolls around the floor in the doctor's office because I wasn't having no kids if...
The judge tries to get to the bottom of the timeline, and it turns out Miss Foster waited a whole month to tell Mr. Jackson she was pregnant. She says they weren't speaking at the time, but come on, you'd think she'd want to get that news out there as soon as possible, right? Mr. Jackson didn't even know about Jakyah until she was 6 months old.
I went to the doctor's office. They gave me the conception calendar. I got pregnant February 21st. That's the same day you left. So that week and that week before, I had a menstrual period. We're sleeping together the entire time. While I'm on in the shower every night, every day, 3 times a day, lunch,
We was
breakfast,
only
and dinner,
together
and I
for
was
2
the
weeks.
third.
What are you talking? We
2
was
weeks
together
is
for 2 weeks, bro.
7 days to get pregnant, baby.
Well,
Now, the real bombshell drops. Miss Foster admits that she was sleeping with both Mr. Jackson and another guy, Marquise, around the time of conception. But she swears that during the window when Jakyah was conceived, she only slept with Mr. Jackson.
You told me you had 2 boyfriends because he had 2 girlfriends, and you was sleeping with them at the same time. What I'm asking is, were you having a sexual relationship with the other guy at the same time you were having it with Mr. Jackson?
Not the exact same time. No, Your Honor, I was not.
So it is your testimony that during the window of conception,
The judge really lays into Miss Foster, telling her that she needs to stop the performance and start being honest. She can see that Miss Foster is a strong woman who's been through a lot, and she's trying to protect herself and her child. But the judge judge also makes it clear that it's not fair to Jakyah to grow up with only one parent, especially when she has two.
So we haven't been able to establish
Basically,
a relationship.
they on the phone, best friends. Then the next day,
So
she
you
on the
have
bathroom.
never seen this baby in person?
No,
In your life? Never hugged her, never nothing.
not yet. No.
15 months? This is the part that drives me crazy. Everybody know how to meet halfway to make a baby, but don't know how to meet halfway to come see the baby and establish a relationship with a parent.
Now, the moment of truth, the DNA results are in. It's time to find out who Jakyah's father really is.
Mr. Jackson, you are not the father. What's funny?
That's why I laugh.
You just performing now. Like I said, you want your baby to be a stage show? That's on you. Keep performing. But if you're gonna be a mother to a real human being and a beautiful little girl like that,
Oof. Looks like we've got another messy situation on our hands here, folks. Tiffany is trying to prove that her boyfriend Josh is the father of her 1-month-old son, Jackson. But the twist? Tiffany admits she cheated on Josh with his best friend while they were on a break. Yikes.
petition the court for a DNA test to prove that the defendant is the father of your 1-month-old son, Jackson. You hope these results will save your family because you have 2 other kids together. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Byram, you say the plaintiff admitted to sleeping with another man, and when the results prove you are not Jackson's father.
Now, Josh isn't too happy about this whole situation. He claims Tiffany has cheated on him before, and this time, he actually caught her in the act with his buddy. Can you imagine the awkwardness of that? Finding your girlfriend and your best friend hiding in the attic of her grandma's house?
You know, she was over there with the kids. I seen him on the couch at first through the window, and then that's when I started banging on the doors and the windows, and then I go in the house. He's hiding up in the attic of her grandma's house.
Hiding in the attic?
Yes, ma'am. Hiding in the attic up in her grandma's house. I told him, you gotta...
How did you find him in the attic?
I started searching the house because I had a feeling that they were together.
But Tiffany insists that she and Josh were on a 1-month break when she slept with his friend. She says Josh was dating someone else too, so she figured it was fair game. I don't know about that.
Period, the end. That's it.
Well, you shouldn't treat me like crap, and you've always accused
Whatever
me.
you say.
So when did you sleep with Mr. Byram? You say you are certain he's the father of Jackson. When did you sleep with him?
September 27th.
September 27th.
She could have slept with him the same day.
I slept with him on September 25th. That's why we're here today for the results.
Now, the judge is trying to get to the bottom of all this. She's asking some tough questions like why Tiffany would cheat on Josh if he was constantly accusing her of it anyway. The judge has a point. If Josh was always suspicious, why did Tiffany feel the need to actually go and cheat?
And so this thing with the friend wasn't a one-time thing.
No.
They were in a relationship after I moved
We were
out.
in a relationship
They got together.
when me and him split up for that month.
No, they were together from like July all the way until November. This isn't just a month thing. This was like a
I'm saying we were in a
4-month thing.
potential
And then
relationship.
And then
for
you
a
all,
month.
after all of this, you got back together?
I wanted to get back together because my daughter is in love with me.
And then there's the whole issue of Josh not fully bonding with baby Jackson. He admits he's having a hard time, saying he can't love Jackson the same way he loves his other 2 kids because he's not sure if he's the father. That's gotta be tough, not knowing if this little one is really yours. No wonder he's been keeping his distance.
Or the other potential father?
No, the other potential father is actually incarcerated right now, or else he would be here too.
Dude's in prison. I've been taking care of her and both of the kids. Don't get me wrong, her grandma helps us out with diapers and stuff, but I've been taking care of her and our kids by myself. She don't work.
I go to school. I go to cosmetology school, and the only reason I had to drop out was because I had the baby, so.
Oof, the moment of truth is finally here. Both Tiffany and Josh look nervous, but for different reasons. Tiffany's hoping the results will save her family, while Josh is bracing himself for the possibility that Jackson might not be his. This is it, folks. Will the results bring this couple closer together, or will it drive them further apart?
Mr. Byram, you are the father.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. That really helped me out a lot.
How does it feel now?
Feels great. Almost want to cry that he's mine.
That would be fine. You've been through a lot. No, really. And I can see by the way you talked about how you love your other children.
This plaintiff, Michael Taylor, claims he had a whirlwind 2-week romance with the defendant, Samantha Orr. And after it ended, she called to tell him she was pregnant with his child. But get this, when Michael showed up at the hospital for the baby's birth, another man was there, and now Michael is convinced the baby isn't his.
Whirlwind 2-week romance with a defendant, and after it ended, she called to tell you that she was pregnant with your child. You say another man was at the hospital for the baby's birth, and therefore your DNA test will come back negative. Dodge his responsibility, and you are confident you will prove he is your child's father. Is that correct?
Your Honor.
Now, Michael claims this isn't the first time he's tried to get a DNA test from Samantha. He says he's been asking for one since the moment he found out about the baby, but Samantha has been dodging it at every turn. She's even gone so far as to argue with him, saying the baby looks just like him and that's proof enough.
No, I'm not, Your Honor.
All right, take me back. I want to understand how this relationship started.
Offline, I met her offline dating website.
Okay,
June
and then you all
14th.
decided to meet in person.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am, June 14th.
And so you had sex with Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Unprotected sex?
Yes,
After meeting her on a dating site? You said the relationship lasted 2 weeks?
Yes, Your Honor.
And how many times did you have sex within that 2-week span?
All right, let's rewind a bit and get the backstory on how these two even ended up in this mess. Turns out they met on a dating website and decided to meet up in person. And after that first meeting, they were already getting busy. Unprotected, no less. Yikes. Talk about moving fast.
September the 1st
Okay.
of 2016.
And when you realize you're pregnant, do you tell Mr. Taylor? Do you call him? Are you all
Yes,
still
I
even
call.
in contact?
No, Your
I
Honor.
call
We
him.
were
I
not in
contact him through Facebook to let him know I'm pregnant.
No, she
So wait a minute, by the time you find-
let me know she was pregnant.
Did you say the baby is yours or it could be yours?
Could be yours.
Samantha claims they had sex more than 10 times in that first week. But Michael says it was only a couple of times the following week. Someone's not being entirely truthful here. And get this, Samantha admits there were other men she was intimate with around the time she got pregnant, but she claims Michael was the only one she was with when she was off her birth control. Looks like we've got a real player on our hands, folks.
Mr. Taylor, do you remember the story going that way?
She told me it was mine, yes, but I did not agree to them terms, no, because I myself knew of 3 other different possibilities.
No,
she had
there's
been
no
with.
other
It's conception, not a contract. Jerome, he said he did not agree to those terms, okay?
Okay.
When did you find out the baby was born?
I found out the baby was born a week after.
Now, when Samantha realized she was pregnant, she says she called Michael to let him know. But Michael says Samantha also told him there were other possible fathers, which is why he didn't believe the baby was his in the first place. And get this, Samantha didn't even bother to call Michael when the baby was born. She just waited a whole week to reach out on Facebook.
Because I was told by the nurse there was another man in her room.
That was a
when
friend
she
guy.
had this child.
Really?
It was a friend guy.
Was this a friend you've been intimate with in the past?
No,
So why is he up at the hospital?
because he supposed to been like the godfather of my son.
How did you have time to notify the godfather and not the biological father? And yet you are blocking him from being there at the most important moment. I don't understand.
But the plot thickens even more when Samantha reveals that another man was actually present at the hospital when the baby was born. She claims this guy was just a friend, but Michael's not buying it. He thinks Samantha had time to notify this friend about the birth, but couldn't even be bothered to let the supposed father know.
And then the next one you say, father like son with a heart, and you're holding the baby.
Right, Your Honor, that was on her Facebook.
And then the next one says, love my son.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then
because
the
I-
next one says, first time me feeding him. So, Mr. Taylor, I will say this, the posts you put on Facebook, they look like you do want to be a part of this child's life.
But the real kicker is when Samantha tries to pull a fast one and sends Michael a collage of pictures comparing the baby to another man, claiming that's proof the baby doesn't look like the other guy. Newsflash, Samantha, that's not helping your case at all. In fact, it's just making Michael even more suspicious.
Did not tell me until Eric was a week old. I am unbelievably shocked. I do not know why. I do not know why I deserve it.
What I want to understand is,
For the fact of she had made me have doubt that he was not mine.
how did she give you that doubt?
Because she told me to take the pictures of her son off Facebook. Your Honor, she's basically harassed me that this is nothing but my child.
She has the audacity to claim the baby has a crooked penis, and that's somehow proof Michael is the father, because he has the same condition. Wow, talk about grasping at straws. The judge is clearly not impressed, and even brings in a medical expert to weigh in on this whole crooked penis situation. Turns out it's not really a reliable indicator of paternity, but nice try, Samantha.
6 weeks early. And then Mr. Taylor said, here's DNA. Oh, I love my son. That makes...
Picture of a comparison that she had sent me of me
Let me see that, Jerome.
and Eric and another possibility to Eric.
That's you on the bottom right. That's baby
Right.
Eric in the corners.
Yes, Your Honor.
And another man is on the top left?
Yes, Your Honor.
Why do you send them a collage of pictures with the baby?
All right, the moment of truth has arrived. Time for the DNA results.
Mr. Taylor, you are not the father.
Give me a...
Calm down, Mr. Taylor. I know this was disappointing. I could tell from the pictures you had formed a bond with the baby.
I wish I never knew her. I don't see how that's...
So
yeah,
even
that's
though you
possible.
had doubts, it is obvious you were coming here hoping to be wrong.
Right.
Ooh boy, we've got a real doozy on our hands today, folks. This paternity court case is a wild ride from start to finish. Miss Clark was certain her ex-boyfriend, Mr. Newby, was the father of her baby, but he wasn't so convinced.
Dated for only 3 months before you became pregnant with his baby. You say the relationship was moving forward until he left you for a woman you claim is old enough to be his mother. It is your belief that she is the reason Mr. Newby is denying paternity. You do not believe you are the father of her child and claim it has nothing to do with your new girlfriend, Ms. Faulkner.
Miss Clark explained that she and Mr. Newby dated for 3 months before she got pregnant. But then he up and left her for an older woman, Miss Faulkner. Miss Clark reckons this new lady put all sorts of ideas in Mr. Newby's head, making him doubt the baby was his.
Miss Clark, first of all, before there was ever a Miss Faulkner, you and Mr. Newby had a relationship.
Yes.
I need you to take me back to that.
Your Honor, when I met him, I was in drug use, but, we were together for 3 months. He was in drug use. 5 years later, my mother had died when I was 18 years old because of cancer. So when he left me when I was 7 months pregnant.
But Mr. Newby had his own side of the story. He claimed Miss Clark was seeing another guy around the time of conception, and he wasn't convinced the baby was his. Uh-oh, looks like we've got a classic he said, she said situation on our hands.
We were gonna be, have a family, so I was excited about that because I felt that my son was gonna have a father and a mother, and instead.
We were not supposed to be, it's all wrong.
All right,
I told her from the beginning when she first went to jail, she would call me, and yeah, I would talk to her because I was thinking that the baby might possibly be mine. I've had my doubts from the very beginning. She's constantly lied. She's cheated on me with her ex, 3-4 times?
No, only
Something like
once.
that.
Now, Miss Clark had a pretty rough past. Her dad had died by suicide when she was just 13, and her mom passed away from cancer a few years later. So when Mr. Newby left her while she was 7 months pregnant, she felt totally abandoned. But she said she cleaned up her act, getting off the drugs for the sake of her baby.
That wasn't a
Prove to me
secret.
otherwise, and
That
you said
wasn't a
prove to me
secret. I
otherwise.
said it in front of
Okay,
you,
but you
in
had-
front of him, and in front of his
But wait a
family.
minute,
right.
Miss Faulkner, I have to ask you, when he was showing the sonogram picture at work, were you in a relationship with him then?
No, I was not.
So why was it your business what he was
Exactly.
showing?
Because I was a friend of his.
And you're old enough.
I have always been a friend of his.
But
She's always been a really good friend of mine.
Yeah, but you're old
We
enough
were
to be
friends.
his
Point
mom.
is that- now, I want to hear more about this doubt.
Mr. Newby, on the other hand, seemed to have some trust issues. He claimed Miss Clark had cheated on him multiple times, even during the time of conception. Miss Clark only admitted to one instance of cheating, but Mr. Newby wasn't buying it. He said he wanted a DNA test from the very beginning, but Miss Clark kept refusing.
And then I looked,
Yeah, I had a
I told
child's
everybody at
moment,
work,
and I sent him a
ran
picture
home
of a
trying to
fake
get it right up
baby,
there,
but-
and she
Wait,
was just playing.
you sent him a picture of a fake baby.
Well, it was a picture of the internet. It was on the internet or whatever, and I sent him the picture, but I was just upset
then she
because
questions why he
had left
questioned
me.
you.
Okay,
He had left
what
me.
was your intention behind sending the picture of the fake baby? I need to understand that.
Things got even messier when Mr. Newby mentioned that Miss Clark had sent him a picture of a baby, pretending it was their son. What? That's just plain messed up. Looks like Miss Clark was trying to get Mr. Newby to show some interest in the baby, even if it wasn't really his. Not cool at all.
The day after my son was born, I said, you can come up here and see the baby, but do not have her drop you off or come to the hospital. He said, oh, no, I'm
And
getting
what
a
does
ride
it
from
matter if
Denver.
I drop him off? I was the only one
don't
willing
care.
to
I don't
give him
care,
a
but that's
ride to
disrespectful
see his
to me.
own kid.
That's disrespectful
I have
to me.
kids. I know what it's like to be a single mom,
disrespectful
and I
to
would
me,
not
so
be
why would
with
you
Jesse
even
if
do
he
that?
would not take care of his responsibilities.
Okay,
If you
that was
really wanted a
disrespectful.
father,
And then there's Miss Faulkner, Mr. Newby's new girlfriend. She seemed to be stirring up all kinds of drama between the exes. When Mr. Newby was showing off the sonogram picture at work, Miss Faulkner apparently told him to put it down, saying he didn't even know if the baby was his.
Mr. Newby has reason to believe that he could possibly be the father.
He has been there.
Why would you have any issue with him being
I
there
don't.
until he
her son has been at our
finds
house.
out otherwise?
We have watched her son.
Yeah,
we had
because
babysat for
whenever
her.
she was gonna find
When he
somebody
was
else.
holding up
her.
the sonogram picture, why'd you tell him to take it down?
I didn't tell him to take it down. I said, why are you showing a picture of a baby? You don't even know if it's yours.
But the real kicker was when Mr. Newbie said he'd fight for custody if the baby turned out to be his, because he thought Miss Clark was an unfit mother. Whoa, those are fighting words. He brought up how Miss Clark had used drugs while pregnant, putting the baby at risk.
Now, Ms. Clark, how have you tried to get him in your child's life?
I would call him and ask him if he can watch him or whatever. If he wants to see him, he said, I can't right now, I'm busy.
That is
I
not true.
want to
And you
take care of the
didn't even-
baby.
you
I
didn't even let
tried
him see
taking
the
care of
kid
the baby.
until
You would
after
not
your
let
man
me.
went to
You only
jail.
bought, how many
Yeah.
diapers have you bought? You only bought 2 packs of diapers. You
And when
haven't even bought
we bought
anything,
stuff for the
so-
baby, she refused. She said, because Joanne got it, I
Yep,
don't
she didn't
want
want
it.
none of it.
Because I bought it.
The judge seemed to be on Miss Clark's side, though. She pointed out that Mr. Newbie and his girlfriend didn't exactly have their lives together either, with both of them looking for work. The judge said she didn't see any evidence that Miss Clark was an unfit mother, and that Mr. Newbie needed to step up and be a dad if the baby was his. So, is the baby his?
Mr. Newbie, you are the father.
It's not a bad thing. Like, I never tried to deny him. I just wanted some clarity.
You did deny him.
I will defend him in this. He did not tell this court he denied him. He told this court he had doubt. That would indicate that Miss Clark is an unfit mother. But I am a firm believer that fathers have a huge role to play in their child's lives. Are we clear?
Yeah.
Court is adjourned.
Thank you.